Hey everybody, this is Jimmy up on the mountain, and this is the famous east-west facing standing stone. It's built out of bedrock. It's very large, and half of it's in the ground. It's in this very large mound. And it sits on top of the ridge. If you're walking up the trail from the east side of the mountain through the jungle down there, you'll see this standing stone on the horizon. There's a quartz quarry right there on the top of the mountain, and this mountain is the root of a mountain that was thousands of feet high, part of the Appalachian mountain range, and it's been worn down for millions of years. And the sediment here is Green Mountain sediment, and we abut right up against the Connecticut River Valley. It's a mile away in that direction as the crow flies. It's a little longer if you're walking, but there's cairns all the way. Follow you up the mountain right to this spot right here, and as you're coming up, that's what you see. This beautiful old stone, and it's buried. There's another one there. It's kind of leaning a bit, but it was pushed up, faces east-west. And here's the other side of this stone, and it has a notch on top. And if there were no trees in the area, which there weren't when this was put up, that notch would look on the horizon to the south. There's a horizon down there. If trees weren't there, you'd see it. And I believe all of this was put up before there were forests here. Makes more sense to me. And it's a beautiful stone, isn't it? There's these small standing stones here. There's this one here. And there's quarries going all the way down that side of the east side of the mountain there. And we can walk this way. Looking west, you have a horizon, the western and the eastern horizon up here. And if you walk right here, you'll see these large white stones. When I first came here, they were just sticking out of the ground a little bit, and I moved all the leaves out of here. I left all the dirt, but all the leaves are gone. This is what we got. And a lot of the artifacts found here are made of this type of stone. This is the root of the mountain. I built an Artesian Well here, right up there. It goes 850 feet straight down through the root of the mountain to get water. And it comes all the way up. That's where I get my water. The root of this mountain, this ancient place. Here's a cairn with a mound. And it looks at the Serpent Wall, which is right over there. You can see it's a classic shaped stone, and when the sun's setting, it has the classic notch, the classic split, and has a bird effigy on this side. It has a large built mound here. Some little animal dug a hole in it, and it has all these corbelled stones over here. Has another effigy here, or carving. Yeah, it's a profile of some type of horse with a rider, I believe. This whole stone was carved. This stone was carved. That's sitting next to it. It's a three-sided stone with a point on it. And that point looks on the horizon. certain times of year you would see the sun setting at certain places, and you could make alignments. There's another stone down there. Very hard to see now with all the jungle growing. We'll walk down here from this mound down this little pathway. You see all these artifacts coming out of the ground. If you like artifacts, this is the place to come. They were covered with maybe 2 feet of leaves for centuries. I mean, no one ever cleaned them. This tree pushed all these artifacts up. Pushed them right out of the ground. If you dug down here, you'd hit ledge really quick. That's why the tree looks like it's a mound on a mound. There's white stones, there's placed stones. Whatever was under here was special because a lot of these stones were quarried and worked, and they were left all in this pile, this mound area. And I find mounds here in this property, up in this area. And I've seen on Mount Ephraim where they had mounds. They were in areas like this where the stone walls would change from straight lines to zigzags. And it's very specific. You find it everywhere. And here's another stone, and tell me why it has the notch and the split going around it. And most of that stone right there is under the ground in this giant mound. And there's a mound over here I cleared off. Right here. And when you start looking at these mounds closer, you'll find placed flat stones covering them. I haven't dug down into any of them, so I don't know what's under them, but I've seen in other places where mounds are and where giant bodies have been, or skeletons have been found in areas just like this. And there's a Serpent Wall right down there. Looking down, there's another wall across the field on the horizon. So there's one wall down there, this wall, and another wall on the eastern side, all running on ridge lines, all 3 of them. And they all have cairns in them. Giant stone foundations, all placed on tiny stones where they sit up off the ledge. And they're hollow built. They're not filled with anything, and when you tap them, tap the stones, they ring out. And you can see how they placed that Serpent Wall on the horizon. They looked at things like they would be if they were in shadow, if there were no trees here. Think about no trees being here, how that would look, and the shadow it would create when the sun goes down. At certain times of the year, the sun would hit that wall. There's tunnels through the wall, and it would go through that wall, make a little tiny lip through that tunnel of light. On a certain time of year, the sun will descend over to here to the end of the summer, then it goes all the way back to here. And if you turn around to the eastern horizon, if there were no trees, you would see the eastern horizon. You could see the south towards Bellows Falls. And this is where they built these walls, up in these high places. It wasn't to hold animals in, it was to read the sky. It was to follow the stars, and that's what these people did. And they moved these large stones into place. They're lined up perfectly to what they needed to do. There's the head of the serpent right there. Goes that way, all the way down into a well, a spring, a giant stone circle with a marker stone on it, with petroglyphs on it. And a giant stone like that, a whale effigy. These people were seafaring. They built whales, they built sea turtles, they built serpents, which looked like sea serpents with fins. Why they did that, it's a great mystery to everybody. But here in Vermont is where we find these things, and they're not specific to one place. They were very, very widespread in the New England area. And it's, if you start seeing the same things over and over again, you can say that. And you just don't have these stones everywhere. They're just placed in these certain spots. You don't find them out there in the woods. You find quarry sites. You find a lot of quarry sites back there and up here. But you don't find a lot of glacial erratics just laying around. You find these cairns that are split in a strange way. I mean, and look at this one here. It's buried. It's buried pretty deep. If you could take thousands of years of leaf litter and trees and take it away, that stone would go down into the ground quite a bit farther. And what we found, Budcat7 and I, who's another Stonewall researcher, is that many of these large stones sit on smaller stones. Specifically smaller stones, and they sit on them. That one up there seems to be that going on. I haven't cleared a lot of it, but more than this one, and it seems to be setting on other stones. And the stone walls have